Vladimir Putin deploys huge nuke-capable weapon dubbed Sledgehammer to Ukraine. It says that the 2S4 Tulip self-propelled mortar is 240 millimeters wide and capable of firing nuclear bombs. And it is, of course, likely that this would be limited to micro-nukes aimed at destroying an area the size of a football stadium. It says that Russian forces suffering massive frontline losses have deployed the world's largest nuke-capable mortar weapon to the battlefield. It says dubbed the Sledgehammer, the 2S4 Tulip or Tulipan self-propelled mortar is 250 millimeters wide, twice the size of NATO mortars, which is about 120 millimeters. It says transported on its own tracks, it has a range of 12 miles and is used to obliterate large fortifications, military equipment, and troop positions. If you can imagine basically a mini nuke being fired from this thing. It says that it is capable of firing nuclear bombs, although it is likely this would be limited to micro nukes aimed at destroying an area the size of a football stadium. The heavy mortar weapon has already been in service in Afghanistan, Chechnya, and Syria with devastating effects. It can also fire armor-piercing, laser-guided, and outlawed cluster munitions, as well as tactical nuclear weapons. Moscow's commander are desperately trying to hold back a ferocious counteroffensive by UKR's forces all along the eastern fronts, or at least that is what is claimed. We're going to talk about this and much, much more. All of the stuff that has gone down in just the last 24 hours is pretty alarming, so stick around. We'll be right back right after this. You are at Marfoogle News. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a ton to go over, and of course, as always, we have a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to show you here today. Over on our website, marfooglenews.com, not only can you sign up for our notifications and our alerts, which, again, you can sign up for our email list. If anything were to happen to us here, you would know where to find us, or I guess we would know how to find you. Again, Lemmings will fall off. Once you go to the website, you'll find tonight's show, which is easily done by thumbnail, and you will see that every single article, tweet, video, picture, document is at your fingertips, and all of the sources. We get stories from all over the world, independent, mainstream, pretty much everything collected, and then we are going to be going over our opinions of what is actually happening right now compared to what is actually being told to us. What is going in the history books and what is actually happening right now, I believe, are going to be vastly different, and we're all living right through it. So let's bring in my co-host. Tonight it is going to be a call-in show. So the number to call in is 2244-00-MARF, or again, that is 2244-00-6273, and that number is right down below me. It's actually going to scroll through a second time, and that is going to have the full number on there. Let's bring in Dex, my co-host/internet brother. Dex James, what is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So we have, first of all, we have what was going on with this mortar. Obviously, this can be used for regular weapons. It's been used in Afghanistan. It's been used in all of these different places. I think it's more that they're pulling this out and they're putting it there It makes for a good headline, but is it really that scary? Probably not. But when you combine it with all of the things that are being said by Russia right now, of course, all of the weird things that are going on, we'll kind of brush on what we talked about last night. They're talking about a plan that leaked, which was Noah's Ark. We have the General SVR, which are claimed to be former, basically the equivalent of CIA for Russia, telling us that Vlad is about to do a full mobilization, do some sort of martial law, and of course that he is practicing and drilling to evacuate leadership in the case of a full nuclear exchange. Now, most people just kind of brush this off and say, it's saber-rattling. This has been going on for decades and decades. I guess from a prepper standpoint of view, we always look at it like even if it's a 0.1% possibility, we talk about it and, of course, prepare for it and try to look at, not be caught off guard by it. There's been a lot of big events, and I think that people were really caught off guard by CV, and not so much by the CV itself, by the actions that the government was able to take. Everything that happened, of course, all of us were locked down. Only essential people could travel and all this crazy stuff. And it wasn't just regional. It was the entire planet that went through this, or almost the entire planet. There, of course, were places, a couple, that did not. And their leaders were quickly replaced. But again, going back to this, it's the Sledgehammer. Could this be the system that actually delivers the first kind of micro nuke? I bet even if they did do a tactical nuke or something with this system, I bet you people wouldn't even believe it either way. I think people would end up saying that, it's photoshopped or something else. And I don't think people would really bat an eye if they did do a tactical nuke. Unless, if we saw a ton of coverage of what it looked like and the results of it and all of that, I would think that would be sus as hell. In fact, if all of the news, if this happened and the news covers it like crazy and is like, look at how badly this happened, then I think a lot of people would think it was like a wag the dog scenario. But if they don't talk about it, if they say that it was used and they don't show anything, they don't talk about it, I think that would also be weird on the other side of it. Anyways. And then going back into the news, California storm death toll reaches 17 as more rain winds arrive. Damage could top $1 billion. Hey, maybe we can get a refund from UKR. So there's been some crazy footage coming out of California the entire last week, or actually 2 weeks. California has gone through some crazy stuff. Just 2 nights ago, we had another windstorm here in Washington that got really, really bad. In fact, I think it had higher gusts than the time that my power went out several times. We have had insane winds here in Washington, so I can only imagine what's going on in California. Of course, Ilea, one of our mods, did video of when they say sideways rain, she meant it. It was literal rain going sideways like it was being popped out of a pot shot thing, like out of a BB gun. That's what it looked like. And I've seen sideways rain, and it goes like this. This was straight up going sideways, hitting you on the side of the face. Some places like Florida and places that go through storms a lot may be used to this kind of stuff, but California is not. For instance, just a couple years ago, we've had tons of strange, weird weather events. As far as we had a tornado 20 minutes outside of Seattle just a couple years ago that we covered. Things like this are now becoming commonplace. And of course, if those are happening, whether it's a natural cycle or if it's something that's going on, it's definitely happening. And I think less people argue that things are changing. I think more people argue about what causes it. But definitely there is a lot of damage in California and a lot of crazy, crazy scenarios playing out right now. It says the latest in a series of intense winter storms continued to lash Northern California on Tuesday, bringing periods of thunderstorms, heavy rain, wind, and hail to the already waterlogged region as the death toll from the extreme weather climbs. The back-to-back storms across the Golden State have killed 17 people, including 2 motorists who died early Tuesday in a crash on Highway 99 in Tulare County when a tree had struck by lightning fell onto the road, authorities said. That's when honestly, this happened to somebody we knew, somebody we knew's sister, and their sister ended up getting killed by a tree falling onto their car while they were driving, and it was literally like probably 150 feet away from their house. And it's really savage, but I mean, I guess if you were at all religious, you would believe that that's like a sign from God. If the tree was literally hit with lightning, the tree comes down and takes your life. I wouldn't call that bad luck. I would call that like that's your time to go. It says these floods are deadly and have now turned to be more deadly than ever. The wildfires here in the state of California, Governor Gavin Newsom said during a news conference over the weekend. So they're saying that it's even worse than the fires that happened before, which we all followed that fire, debacle, and it was really bad. If you have crazy video footage, please send it to marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo. If you're from California and you've got crazy video, and I know Ilea has a couple that we should show before this is over, but again, crazy weather, please send it to marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo, and it will end up on our show. And then Brazil releases hundreds after the riots. Isn't that funny? This is literally history repeating itself, only in a different country and not too far down the road. It's, so close to what happened to us that most people are like, wait, are we watching a replay of somewhere here? Only in Brazil. Essentially, people went into a public area, went into a area or capitals, government offices. They walked in, they walked around. I don't believe anyone perished as of now, I don't believe. And it said that police had arrested more than 1,500 people after supporters of the far to One Direction former President Jair Bolsonaro stormed the seats of power in Brasilia on Sunday. It says they have refused to accept that Bolsonaro's defeat to Lula in October. But the federal police said in a statement on Tuesday that 599 people were released, mostly old people, people with health problems, the homeless, and mothers with children on humanitarian grounds. So, of course, they didn't care to arrest him and put him on the ground in the first place, but now they have kids. Most of the arrests took place on Monday as police cleared protest camps set up in the capital. It said that Lula had condemned terror act and criminal coup-mongering vandalism. Sound familiar? That's because it's basically the same book. Somebody goes, oh, I like that book. Let's remake it with our language. Let's subtitle it. Now, as far as some of you guys don't know Bolsonaro is the equivalent of T-Man. He's the equivalent of our previous president. At least he's been compared in so many different ways. He's not exact, but they have basically had the same division there that they have been having all over the planet. And it says that Bolsonaro tweets photos from Florida hospital as Brazil reels from the political violence. Now, remember, you can call us at 2244-00-MARF. That's, again, 2244-006273. It says that former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro on Monday tweeted a photo of himself from a hospital bed in Orlando, Florida, as several U.S. lawmakers called for his removal from the country following attacks by his supporters on Brazil's seats of government. Isn't that funny that U.S. lawmakers are saying, we need to get that guy out of here because they did the same thing that T-Man supporters are. They basically look at this guy as another T-Man. And even though he's in the hospital dealing with crazy stuff, they are basically saying, wow, we want to get him out of here because he's the reason for that. So somehow, even though he wasn't present at this thing, he is also being blamed for them storming this. That's like if there was like an Elvis of today or something, and they were doing a show and people perished trying to rush the concert or something, or trying to blame Elvis or something arrest him for those charges of taking their lives because they were so enamored with Elvis, right? These are supporters. It's not like he said that, hey, go in here and destroy this, go in here and do this. But this is the case that's been made. Sorry, but my personal opinion, and I don't usually go into this area of stuff, but when you have a very, very simple and very straightforward tweet that says, hey, go be nice, be be awesome, go home, whatever else, then there's absolutely no common sense way that you could say that that person was telling people to go and do things. And then when you add in the truth that there were people basically inserted into events all over the world like this, and those people just happen to work for three-letter agencies, it's kind of crazy. So you start thinking like, maybe this isn't something that, was just completely coincidence. Either way, though, as far as this goes, the guy's a tough dude from what it sounds like. It said that he was receiving treatment for complications relating to an old stab wound. Earlier, his wife, Michelle Bolsonaro, said in an Instagram post that he admitted on Monday for abdominal discomfort related to injuries from a knife attack during a political rally in 2018. So the dude's been stabbed. It says Bolsonaro's hospitalization comes after hundreds of his supporters stormed the capital Brasilia on Sunday, trashing government offices and drawing strong condemnation from the international community. As of Monday, about 1,500 people had been arrested. Now, just want to point out, this is now, they call it J8 on Twitter and in some of the news outlets in Brazil, and it's just crazy because ours is the J6, theirs is the J8. It's crazy how close this is, how this is being closely compared to our own event here. The former leader denounced the attack in a tweet on Sunday. So again, he also denounced it, said don't do it. And it said that, but experts say his repeated and unfounded claims of fraud in the dropping things into the box to pick who you want in the run-up to the event where you do that served to foment anger among his supporters. So first of all, just put yourself in anybody's shoe, and if you're running on something and say you might think that something is wrong, how is it not okay for them to question it and say, hey, you're not even allowed to speak your mind if you don't think it was fair? I mean, what does the world get to when you can't question something like that in any area of anything? Because they go, if you question it, then you can't say that. You're going to make people angry, and people are going to go do things, and you're going to be responsible for questioning our system. Well, obviously we know there's a lot of problems in all systems across the planet as far as, not just in this area, but in all. If you look at just administrative mistakes that human beings make, can't imagine, deciding a leader for an entire country. So I'm sure that there's going to be people in Brazil investigating this, and over the next couple of years, I bet you on different platforms, you're going to see all sorts of different stuff pop up. But who knows? They don't have the people aren't as passionate or have the budget, or there's not enough bigger names over there pushing for this stuff to be brought to the surface. And then India is about to pass China as the world's most populous country. This is, obviously 1.4 billion people. We've talked about how many people China have and how many people India have. They were very close. I guess India is actually about to surpass them. So this is pretty nuts. By the way, Stephen McMahon, I want to thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you for supporting Survival Living, Meet Puppet 007, Exit. Thank you. And Billy Bong Thornton. Hey, what's going on? You've been here for a while now. Billy Bong, I appreciate you. And let's see here. Somebody new popped in. Thank you for all the new follows over on DLive, on Rumble. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Rhiannon S. Hey, what's going on? Rhiannon S. Amazing gal, runs the Facebook. Hey, Adam, I have been super busy and haven't been able to watch a lot of live videos lately, but I always watch the rerun. Hope you and your family are doing well. God bless. Hope to talk to you soon. Rhiannon, I would love to talk to you and catch up. In the next week, I would love to chat with you. And then Kush Monster, off topic, but you can't claim you care about freedom if you're working for the people taking it away. Police, military, take notes. The enemy's domestic. So, first of all, I actually commented. You said something like this the other day, or maybe it was somebody else, which I hope it's not somebody else because that would be kind of bottish, but it was almost the exact same comment. And so you're I would say this is when I brought up the whole thing about like high impact flicks. Like me and Brian don't see eye to eye exactly because I do support police. First of all, I have dealt with the police that, like, I jaywalked one time and the guy literally made me sit down and talk to me like just in like a piece of crap. He said, sit down on there. And then I tried to stand up to grab my wallet. He goes, sit down, you punk, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was just the worst. And this is just one of many times dealing with like these power tripping popos that are just like the worst. And all of you have probably dealt with one, but you've also probably dealt with good police, and they're human beings. And human beings, when they are given power, they either take it with stride or they take it wrong, and it goes to their head. And I think that in that position that a good percentage of them do take that, and they basically go on this power trip. It's giving them power. It's giving them, I mean, I see it when, all the channels I've talked to, they see it when somebody is given a wrench in a chat. Imagine when you can actually decide somebody's fate or put them in jail or decide, if that person is going to, live in the free world and stuff. I get it. But as far as like the police, military, all of that, the military, we've always supported the military and the police. And up until the last couple of years, there's been this narrative to take down the police or to stop supporting the police. And I don't understand that. There are good human beings and there's bad human beings. It's kind of like guilt by association. It's about cancel culture. It's about all this stuff. Like it's about how teenagers now, if you tell them, oh, what do you think when you hear the word Republican, and they say racist? What is the deal with that? Those aren't two equals. It doesn't equal that. I don't think that police equal bad, and I don't think military equals bad. But there are some things at the top of the level for military, the governments. Obviously, most people, even the most hardcore truthers, and even the most hardcore patriots that are like, America, F yeah, they can support their country without supporting their country's values and the things that they're doing. As far as like a lot of the conflicts, a lot of people have, decidedly gone against a lot of the words we're in. So I keep seeing this, and I don't understand that though. The enemy is domestic. Well, yeah, the enemy is everybody in the world. Bad people are the enemy. And again, one of the things though is to get us versus ourself. I think that's part of a narrative itself. And then for those about to Marf, we salute you. Much loves. Mystery School, thank you. K. Holmes, I appreciate you as well. Thank you, K. Holmes. Thanks for all you and Dex do. Marfoogle News, the only news I use. Well, thank you, K. Holmes, and thank you for everybody that's popping into the chat. Appreciate all of you guys just coming in here by the hundreds here now. Thank you. Let's see. What do you guys think about India and China and the population? Do you think that those numbers are going to go down? It says that India is expected to surpass China to become the world's most populous nation within the next 3 months. So this isn't like in 10 years from now. This is now. It says, according to a recent report by the United Nations Population Division, marking a seismic shift on the global stage in a trend with significant social and economic impact for both countries. Most people think that India's economy is still a fraction of what it could be in the future, which means that there's so much promise. Dr. Audrey Chusky, an associate professor of South Asian history at Rutgers University, told Yahoo. It says potential is due in large part to India being, quote, such a young country. Of the rapidly growing 1.41 billion people in India, about 1 in 4 are under the age of 15, and nearly half are under 25. This is just crazy to think about. Half of the 1.4 billion people in India are under 25 years old. How does that work out? What kind of baby boom did these people have? What did they put in their water? What did they put in the men's food? Like, what in the world? It says that China's population is about 1.45 billion, but those under 25 make up only a quarter of the population. So they have much more people in adult diapers than baby diapers. And then it says the Indian subcontinent has always supported a robust human population. India has also been long compared to China, and they have for a long time traded with one another. So as much changes over the course of human history, that's something that recurs, both of the dense populations of the subcontinent as well as the comparison with China. This is a lot of people, and I don't think that many of us that have not visited it can even imagine how many people that is. but some of those populated centers are like this. This is why I think that a lot of people take things for granted. I know I've taken things for granted in the past. We have it really, really good in most places in the planet. These places, imagine competing for a job in that market. I mean, just look at that. That's just a street shot. Imagine looking for a good job and being able to support your entire family on that. It's pretty nuts to think about. It says since 1950, India and China have accounted for an estimated 35% of the world's population growth, with China emerging as a global industrial power. Combined, the two population epicenters are a significant slice of the world's roughly 8 billion people. So think about if they team up. And I know there's been a lot of debate, but I believe that India is secretly doing a whole lot more with China than we think. That's 2.8 billion people. One thing that I think is really, really weird is how much China is hoarding right now. China is hoarding all sorts of things. And in fact, I have mentioned over the last few months all of the things they have hoarded. But Nate over at CP at Canadian Prepper, he actually pulled out some more numbers that I didn't know about the other day. There were all sorts of numbers of stuff that they were hoarding that I didn't know about. But the ones that we covered a month ago in the video with Dex is, 55% of the world's wheat, 65%, and I believe it went up to 70% of the world's wheat, 55% of the world's corn, and then a huge, huge amount of, they're buying gold up, they're buying lithium, they're buying almost everything, and they are keeping it and they're hoarding it. Why? Rice and all sorts of other things they're basically holding on to, and they're not selling or they're not getting rid of. So something's going on here. Maybe it's because they're preparing to team up with India and help them out. I don't know. If you want to call in on this, give us a call at 2244-00-MARF. That's again 2244-00-MARF. Let's see here. Watch Wolf, Peter, what is happening? China is getting ready for the war against the U.S. They are not trying to hide it. So, hey, I don't know if that's Xfit right there, that channel, but how do you not have a name? That's so awesome. Were you just like the first person on YouTube and you were like, oh, I'll just type in blank? Neil, thank you. Summer Love, what is happening? Neil, let's hear. Matthew Shaw, Mimi says, hello, fam. Red Dawn is what's up. Z-Man Luke. Yeah, well, China red and Russia red. Let's see here. Let's open up the screener and see who we have. Remember, you can call in at 2244-006273. And it looks like we have a first-time caller, Eric. Dex, while you get Eric on the phone, I'm just going to run over again. If you haven't gone over to marfooglenews.com/prep, make sure to go check it out. You can get long-term survival food that can last 25 years. And this is all freeze-dried food, sealed in Mylar bags, and then actually double packaged into buckets if you get anything over the 2-week supply. Now, they have the 1 month is at the best price that's been at, and that's at $100 off. And I believe that makes it actually the lowest price we've had it since 2019. It's actually a really great deal for that 1 month. I believe it's even better deal than the 3 month right now. So make sure to go check that out, marfooglenews.com/prep. Now the 3 month is, I believe, $200 off, and that is a little bit under $600 for 3 months of food. That breaks down to about $200 per month to have essentially, again, 3 months of solid food that you can eat in any kind of disaster, and you'll be able to keep it for 25 plus years. So that's a huge deal. marfooglenews.com/prep. You can also get the Alexa Pure Pro water filtration system there. You can get battery banks. You can get emergency radios. You can even get iodine tablets if that's something you're worried about. All right, let's get Eric on the phone. Eric, you are live on Marfoogle News. What is happening?
Hi, Adam. Dex, first-time caller. Long-time listener. Didn't think I'd get through. I just heard it was a call-in show, dialed it up. I come into the videos when you were talking about the Sledgehammer, and I've been listening ever since. Tonight.
So you wanted to talk about Vlad and the nuke, right, Eric? What's going on there? Go ahead.
Sure. I want to talk about something on topic tonight, but I had some interesting things I wanted to talk about. Just in my experience of what I do traveling over the road, some things I've been seeing, and I hear people talk about that sometimes. So I figure I had some information from where I travel to.
Well, go ahead, Eric. And Dex, I'm Eric. I'm going to be listening to you, but I'm not going to be able to speak for a second. Dex, are you able to just make sure that nothing goes wrong while I switch over my
I'm
mic?
here.
All right, thank you. Eric, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Marfoogle family, everybody. Like I said, I've been listening for a long time, and for a couple of years now at least. But what I do is I travel, I haul seafood, and I'm on the East Coast. The East Coast, I go up and down Interstate 95. That goes Florida all the way to Maine. But I travel from around Georgia to Washington, D.C. a couple times a week. And a lot of talk over the summertime. I've seen a lot of things traveling up and down the roads that we'd be interested in all in camouflage, camouflage vehicles and tractor trailers. But what I've been seeing lately is these big wide load generators, some kind of big generators or refrigeration units. They kind of look the same. I don't know exactly what they are, but a lot of construction going on and a lot of wide load big generators hauling up and down the interstate over this way. I actually live over on the east coast towards Ocean City, Maryland. If anybody's familiar with the area, that's the closest thing I can tell people. The little peninsula called Delmarva. It's Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia all in one. And we have two bridges, which is Bay Bridge and the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel that get onto our peninsula. And I travel across both of them, both ways, and just means seeing things going up and down the highways all summer long. It's slacked off a little bit in the fall and winter now. But as you know, they're slow-moving vehicles, so they cause a lot of problems on the interstate over here when they are moving up in convoys up and down the road.
So what, in your opinion, why do you think that they're doing that? Or do you think that they're preparing for some sort of event?
That's by what we conclude by listening and putting things together, piecing things together, that they're preparing for something. It's not. I've only been doing it for 3 or 4 years, but in the last year or two, it's definitely stepped up and gotten more and more frequent seeing these kind of vehicles and this new equipment that's moving. It's extra wide load generators or refrigeration units, whatever they are, is new this year. I haven't seen any of them on the roads like before.
Yeah, no, I want to say it was Bones and a couple other people have seen. So these are not what I'm showing here on screen is like the normal military. Some of the normal military generators you see. There's huge ones that we got pictures of last month, and these things are so huge they have to have a whole crew. They have to have 6 cars block 3 lanes, 3 in the front and 3 in the back, for them to drive down the highway. Is that what you saw? Is that what you're saying you saw?
They had lead vehicles in front measuring the bridges and making sure the height and stuff, and vehicles behind lead and follow vehicles following these big wide load whatever the equipment is they're hauling. But nothing on the screen quite big is what I've been seeing. It takes up almost both lanes of the highway, and it's longer than a normal tractor trailer body. So they're pretty big stuff.
Yeah, I think I got something similar to what we were looking at, but again, with the generators,
Look a lot like it.
how do you think that the power would go out? Do you think it would be an EMP? Do you think it would be somebody taking pot shots at 9 of our transformers? How do you think it would happen?
It's going, but it's hard to say. I mean, we've been seeing it. We've been seeing stuff happen at our power stations. It's just not making the news. We're the only ones that talk about it. Stuff you don't see it on the big stations or anything. But the company you promote and stuff like that, the EMP guys, I mean, I've been wanting to order something from them. I've got a couple old cars that don't have electronics. They're all carbureted and distributors. They don't have computers. An old pickup, stuff that don't actually need that.
Yeah, don't get an EMP shield. If you have to look up what kind of car. The newer cars is what you have to worry about. The older cars, that's why in all the movies, like Dragon Day, they show the Mercedes-Benz in the movie dies, and then the guy with the big old pickup truck then, ends up just driving right through like nothing's wrong. That's why them good old boys are the ones that are going to be riding around when SHTF happens. Well, so as far as the generators, this isn't the first and it's not going to be the last. I bet many people have seen these around now, and I think my personal opinion is I think it's because they're preparing for some sort of event with our grid, whether it be planned or not planned, or something that they are saying that is some sort of group within inside. I don't know what's actually what the actual threat is, but I do know when they warn this much and they put it on the back pages and they put DHS warnings out, normally those warnings end up coming true, and then everybody gets mad at them for not heeding all of these warnings. With all of the previous big events we've had, there have been these warnings of these things to come, but nobody, it's basically don't fix it until it's broken. So, well, Eric, thank you for calling in tonight. Again, appreciate it.
Yes, it's nice talking to you guys. I'm glad I got through. I just wanted to just let you guys know a little bit of something I've been seeing more often, and just shout out to. I told my family I was going to be on. I actually got on tonight, so they're probably listening. Just say hi to them, and everybody else in the Marfoogle family. Stay safe and prep.
Well,
prep what you can.
Eric, be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. And thank you, Eric's family, for watching as well. I appreciate all of you guys. At some point, I would love to meet all of you. All right, that was Eric, again, talking about the mobile nukes and then, of course, the generators. The information for all callers after the show, we end up adding that live to the show's website. So in the case of, sometimes we'll get people that have YouTube channels, all of their information or anything that we end up showing you here ends up going on the website. So let's see here. China takes first steps to punish countries that imposed testing mandates for Chinese travelers. So this is really weird. First of all of this stuff going down, and this is we got to be careful about this because of the thought police here. But there's some really terrifying stuff happening right now. And if you know, you know. If you don't, then I highly recommend you ask somebody next to you, because what is happening is looking eerily like the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020. In 2019, in September, they did this event, right? It was 2 and a 0 and a 1. It was an exercise, and a tabletop one at that, where Mr. Bill, Microsoft Bill, and the W and the H and the O went over this huge exercise. And this exercise, looking back at it now, was extremely accurate to even the actions that the government took on what it would do with information, with social media, with everything else. when you look back at that, it's eerily similar to what actually happened after just a few months later in December. And by the way, I was covering this back in October, November, when there was these weird things like frozen bodies being found and all sorts of weird stuff going on in trucks. And labs being broken into just months before. In fact, one lab that held like dangerous stuff in Russia. And then, of course, a couple months before that, in 2019 and 2018, you had the whole thing with the Atlanta, Georgia cat, dog, and cat, this city, having one of their main guys who responds to exactly that kind of event ends up missing. And then they said that he basically perished or unalived himself by drowning and left his house without his shoes, without his dog, without his keys, without his wallet. And basically his family didn't believe it. In that case, there was all this stuff right before. Back to the point, though, with all of this stuff that's happening right now, there was an event in October. On October 23rd, they did a tabletop event just slightly after the September date of 2019. And this event was a tabletop exercise, just the same. And this new one says that 1 billion perish in this simulation, right? And that exercise is called catastrophic. And the second word of it is contagion. And it basically has this fictitious V that comes out, and it's CEERS. And it's 2025 is the year they attach to it. If you watch the movie Songbird, they actually called it like CV23, basically the full word in 23. What's so freaky about this is the exercise actually sounds a whole lot like what they described in that Songbird movie. Now, that's just an exercise, right? Well, overnight, because of these protests, Xi basically unlocked down everybody. They went from being totalitarian to absolutely having barbed wire in the hallways of all of the apartments to essentially pushing people to go travel and to get out there and to visit their family and see the world again. Hey, you guys wanted your freedom? Go ahead. In fact, we're pushing you. We're giving you cheap prices. You can fly anywhere, go everywhere. And this is just a couple months after they set up all of these worldwide police stations. Weird spy things at the same time that they're drilling to take Taiwan, and after they've told over the last year and a half, told their entire country that the U.S. is actually responsible for the CV and everything in it, and that was actually a brutal attack on their country. And now they're basically saying, because now all these other countries are playing the circus show or whatever this is, and they're saying, hey, you got to take tests before you come in. Well, now they're punishing these states. You don't ever hear this from China. You usually hear this from the U.S., punishing smaller countries or sanctioning and doing this. They're basically sanctioning back or doing tariffs. It says that cases are currently rising in 21 states, led by Florida, where they are up by 90% in 2 weeks, supposedly, right? It said that China on Tuesday suspended visas for South Koreans to enter the country for tourism or business in an apparent retaliation for South Korea's CV testing requirements for travelers from their country. And it says no other details were given, although his country has threatened to retaliate against countries that require travelers from it to show a negative result for a test taken within the previous 48 hours. How would you be mad about that? And by the way, I don't like the whole testing thing, but it's even more sketch that they are actually retaliating like this and saying that, well, you can't come here or you can't do anything here if you do this. Dex, I know that you're going to be on the phone here, but I would love for you to pop in on this because this is probably going to be the biggest thing out of anything. And of course, there's 15 things tonight that could be on the thumbnail of tonight's show. But I think that this is going to be the main story. I'm hoping it's not, and I really do. But we've been saying for months that this is starting to look like deja vu. Are you able to?
Well, yeah, it certainly does look like deja vu, and it's certainly it's very. I don't understand why a leader of a country would be upset with other countries wanting some sort of proof when they're going through what they're going through. They're claiming they're going through this. It's public, at least in the sense, it's not like they're covering it up. It's not like they're hiding it. Maybe they are to some extent, but there's enough of it out there, like the world knows. So, at least from what they're putting out. So if that is what's coming out of their country from a visualization and a news reporting and a statistical point of view, then why are you going to punish anybody from wanting to, protect themselves against that? Granted, the whole thing is sus in many different ways. Okay. But at the same time, you never know which time is, the part that's going to really, really matter. And so, like, I don't want to have my guard down, but I don't want to have it up more than it needs to be either. So I'm very cautious with this because we've been through it once before and it wasn't as what we seemed and what we saw it. But I don't want to have my head in the sand and be hurt because I failed to recognize the actual signs on the wall.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't know if anybody is into numerology or anything, but 23 of October, 2022. So what is that? 23/10/2022. I don't know if there's any significance. I got done watching Jacob's video earlier where he was talking about 17 and all this crazy stuff. And if you guys haven't checked out that video, make sure to go do so. He put all. I'm not good at that stuff. A lot of the times I don't follow it. There's some things I don't, but there are some things that are just like way out in your face, and it's like, why? Why are there so many numerology kind of connections with things? But yes, so this thing, I would watch this, especially with the people that are involved. And then, of course, Bill stating that we will have, and the fact checkers have said, oh, well, this isn't true or whatever. He quoted and he said that we were going to have a hung and we are going to have a civil conflict, but he used war, right? They then fact-checked it for the first week. It said, trying to do more research or whatever. Now it's saying unproven. He even admitted that he said it. And it wasn't like we may have this or we might. In the beginning, it says, yes, the political this or that may bring it all to an end. And then said, we will have a civil conflict and we will have this. And then this is the same gentleman who's been warning about these. If we do a really good job with that we can bring the number of people down. It's like, this is just creepy stuff. And of course, everybody goes, tinfoil hat. Well, unfortunately, the people that have worn that hat have been right several times. And I just wish we were in a place where we actually did have freedom of speech, because you can't question anything anymore. And they know it. At the very top, they know that it's not real freedom of speech when it gets to this point. They've made people afraid, which, by the way, this just on a side note, like the whole Andrew Tate thing, I hope people realize the real reason why things like that are happening. People of any kind of power level that have any kind of influence, they either try to get them to where they don't have that influence, so they'll hold them back. But if they do somehow break through that mold, if they do get there, whether you agree with his stuff or not, people followed him because of his what is considered courage to say the things that nobody else says. And when he had a fight with Greta, it was like instant. You can't mess with any of their heroes. What was it? Somebody just posted a quote. Albert Pike said, will always produce a hero. Basically, they always have to have a hero. Another line from, that's also another line from Don't Look Up. How the politics always has to give you a hero. Instead of sending an unmanned flight to kill an asteroid, they said they wanted the crazy dude to pilot it because they always need a hero. This is actually true. They do it all the time. They always have some sort of hero involved. It's because they're dealing with psychology and psyops. And this is huge. If you look into this actual Hopkins thing and go into the details and how they would do it and how they would fix it, and it's 10 times worse. It's 1,000 times worse. I mean, it's 1 billion times worse if you consider the number that's being involved. So I do want to stress how important this is, and trust me, everybody's going to be talking about this very soon. You heard it here months ago, and then now everybody else is starting to pick up on it. Everybody else is starting to talk about it. We've been talking about it since day one. The day after. So, anyways. And then Russian nuclear submarine Belgorod completes throw test of nuke. Tipped Poseidon torpedo. Okay, first of all, the timing on this, after we're talking about the whole Noah's Ark thing, the day after I say that, we're talking about this Poseidon torpedo that could cause a 1,500-foot wave, they're actually testing it. It says that the nuclear submarine Belgorod completes throw test of nuke-tipped Poseidon torpedo. It says the crew of the Belgorod nuclear submarine has reportedly completed a series of tests of the Poseidon torpedo mock-up, because the real thing would cause a 1,500-foot wave taller than the Trade Center. It said that this was reported to TASS, citing a source close to the military department. And this is TASS, so it's basically everything is most likely approved by their government, right? According to the source, the test purpose was to check the operation of the Poseidon launch system. Throw firing of the Poseidon super torpedo model was carried out to clarify the behavior of the submarine at a different depth after the launch. It says, according to an unmanned senior official cited by CNN earlier, that the U.S. intelligence observed the Russian naval vessels possibly preparing for the first ever test of a Poseidon nuclear-tipped torpedo capable of hitting American coastal cities. Among the vessels involved in the alleged preparations was a nuclear-powered Belgorod submarine, the Russian Navy inducted in July. However, at the time of its induction, it was revealed that where Belgorod would be deployed. The Belgorod submarine was constructed from the hull of an Oscar II cruise missile submarine that was never completed. It is specially customized to launch unmanned underwater vehicles, including the Poseidon torpedo. It says that weapons experts say its payload is more likely to be 6 torpedoes. And then again, Belgorod could carry up to 8 nuclear-tipped Poseidons. They're saying 6. Earlier, the U.S. observed the Russian naval vessels, including Belgorod, leaving the testing area in the Arctic Sea and heading back to port without conducting a test. The U.S. officials say that the test might not have been carried out because of the technical difficulties. So they're basically saying, oh, maybe they just couldn't do it. They couldn't get it done because they're idiots, right? I sure hope so. I hope that this system doesn't work. It says the latest report comes after a secret NATO report in late September raised concerns about Belgorod's deployment in Arctic seas, possibly to test the Poseidon UUV for the first time. Based on the reports above, it appears the Russian Navy might have spent more than a month in the Arctic Sea preparing for the test, but aborted allegedly due to these technical difficulties. Nevertheless, U.S. officials have accessed that Russia could make another attempt to test the torpedo. Reports suggest that the test of the nuclear torpedo could inflame tensions between the U.S. and Russia even further at a time when Washington and its European allies are monitoring signs of the Russians' military potential use of nuclear weapons in UKR. So right now, they're possibly moving this thing into place for a second time. They have the Sledgehammer moving in that can deliver these tactical nukes. And then, of course, they're talking about all these things like the Noah's Ark plant. Hence the picture here. By the way, just a couple days before a top secret plan leaked out of Russian ranks, and this was a plan that essentially would protect their leadership, evacuate their leadership, and it was dubbed Noah's Ark. Out of all things to end up naming your evacuation and Plan B, that's what they named it. Just a couple days before that, Elon Musk ended up sharing this photo. And by the way, he shares just these random specific things. He doesn't give you any explanation. He just says, the Starship will take people to Mars. But why? Why is he posting this? It's actually a picture of the flippin' Noah's Ark. And by the way, there's men with spacesuits, essentially with weapons, holding back people. And people have pointed out the color of the people with the weapons are one, and then the people that are being held back are another color. I don't know if that was main point, because this was done in 1969. But it shows you this whole thing, like, the rich and elite, if this did happen or if something bad happened, they do have a plan B. They do have some sort of plan, just like in Don't Look Up. You think they don't? It's incredibly obvious. So something weird is going on here, and I hope, and if this does happen, I mean, just there's not much we can do about it, and especially if you're on the coastlines, this is nuts. Dex, do you want to comment on the Poseidon and this whole system that's being tested? That you're
only if this gives us a little bit more clarity into its existence. It's always been this alleged device. We haven't actually seen it tested in the sense that we've seen it create a wave or anything like that. So, it's all on a chalkboard, so to speak, right? Like the specifications, they designed it and say it can do it, but have we yet to see it actually? Not that we want it to be done, but I guess maybe it could be tested somewhere. And will they? And will we ever see that? Until then, is this just sort of like one of those things that we, don't have a lot of faith in that it actually exists or not? I think there's a lot of people that question whether or not this is real. Unlike the hypersonics, which we've seen, they've tracked, they know. There's, we've seen them use them even without nukes on them. But this whole notion about this one particular one about creating this massive tidal wave, in theory, it sounds great, but can they really do it? And I don't mean great as in fun, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. So as far as this goes, a lot of great comments coming in, by the way. Denver slated to be the new capital if DC goes down, says Nickel Wise. Somebody says, let's see here. West of the West get pecked enough if there are no more. Larry Norton says, how many years has Marf been pushing scare events? So these are not scare events. And by the way, one thing I don't understand, Larry, if you don't like this kind of content, don't watch this kind of content. You are an adult, so you have that choice. So, by the way, almost everybody here, and I bet most people will agree, do you guys look this content out? Do you search this content because you agree with me and you feel this way? Or am I convincing somehow all of these adults that there are scary things coming? Or, just give me a second, are you convinced there are scary events coming and that's why you are here? I don't think it's the other way around. And fear-mongering is if you are afraid. Almost everyone here, if you watch scary movies every day, guess what's not going to scare you? Scary movies. But if you get nervous and get shaky and really, really nervous, don't watch scary movies. That's the simplest advice I could give you, Larry. Don't watch this kind of content if you don't like this content. Let me also ask you, how many of you guys are shaking and absolutely scared tonight of this show? I don't think anybody is scared. What they are, though, is concerned. And you should be concerned because the world is going to crap. Before CV happened, we told you about Exercise 201. We told you how real it looked. We told you how they were drilling in Seattle with masks. I even went to the streets and I said, what are they doing? And people would go, oh my God, they're down here drilling with masks on and everybody's got masks and they're basically doing these drills like there's about to be a demic, right? This is before CV happened, just months before. I showed you the graphs saying that why is the W, H, and the O, the same one that was involved in all of that, showed you the graphs that they show you how the actual demic was, this demic that didn't exist yet, was going to affect the entire world, and that how empty shelves were going to be everywhere. I said that. So did other peers. All of these other people said it. And guess what happened? The people that watched this show were not caught off guard by it, and they had prep. They had stuff. They didn't have to sit in a 2-mile long Costco line to get their food and their toilet paper because they had all of that stocked up, or at least most of you did. I myself had to deal with that line, and I even made a video of it. 2-mile long Costco trip to go into nothing. So as far as like this content, I don't understand it. There's over 3 billion YouTube channels on the thing. If you don't like this kind of content, then don't watch it. But I think it comes down to people that have been hurt by other creators that are trying to do it. And basically it's that they believe that I'm trying to do it for a purpose, that I'm trying to do it out of ill will. That's where people get the motivation to say stuff like that. Otherwise, what's funny is somebody like that will go to a different channel that they'll like saying the same things and go, yeah, I totally agree, if it goes along with their narrative. I'm sure that some of you have even done it. You don't like a creator, so you say that's crap, but then somebody you do like, you'll say, oh yeah, and they'll say the same thing, but since they said it, you'll go, yeah, sure. Oh, I totally agree with you. Everybody does it. But unfortunately, right now, it's not a time to tell people it's all rainbows and ponies when it's not. And unfortunately, we have shown you over the 5 years, by the way, 5 years ago when I started, I showed you how Theresa May was just then transferring out of focusing towards terrorists in the Middle East to Russia and China. At that time, none of this was talked about. In fact, everything I talked about then about how everyone was going to be transferring over, the enemy wasn't going to be somebody, wearing some head dressing from the Middle East anymore. It was going to be either people from here, when Jade Helm happened, when I covered that, or it was going to be people from Russia and China. And look at where we're at. So you can say, how long have you pushed this? And I will say 5 years, because guess what? You go back 5 years, you will find out that almost all of the stuff we talked about is now happening. And only now is mainstream covering it. And since nobody believes mainstream, everybody goes, well, mainstream's covering it, so it's fake. So you're saying fake stuff. But we were talking about this stuff 5 years ago. So you actually made a point for me. But the thing is there's a lot of this attitude that this is all scary stuff. Don't be scared. Stop being afraid. It's time to get your stuff together, and the more prepared you are, the less scared you'll be, and the less concerned and nervous and everything else that goes out the window when you start getting prepared for any kind of event. This is news from a prepper standpoint. Don't go to a prepper and go, why do you prep? It's kind of like, going to a basketball star and going, why do you practice basketball? That's dumb. That's weird. It's what we do. James Fox, thank you for your support. I appreciate that. Ilea, what if wealthy folks are time travelers? What is... I don't know. There's some stuff that is actually being covered by mainstream science and professors at Ivy League schools that are starting to say things that might actually make it possible, or at least that's what they're saying. You think that's tinfoil? You say something about time travel, people go, oh yeah, sure there, buddy. But now in official science, they just said that a quantum computer was able to put a message into the space-time continuum. They'll believe that, but then they'll say, oh, if you're a time traveler, it's tinfoil hat. I won 10, not a billion, giving you a half. Hey, thank you, FG. I appreciate that. That is awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. FG Fall, I appreciate you. Nice to see you. And again, I bought a lotto ticket. You might get a bonus, LOL. FG, that's awesome. Hey, I hope you, looks like you won $10. That's awesome. Matt J. Hey, Marf, long-time listener, but I usually don't chat. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Matt J., and welcome to the Foogle fam. Be Real Beast. So, can I have my wrench? Be Real, none of the new kind of suggestions have been wrenched yet. It's a process, but it would come. If it's going to come, I will have to talk to you first. That's National Guard annual training, says Mark Waugh. I don't know if you're referencing like the picture of the generator, but you might be right. I just used a random stock photo. James Fox, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And Blue Boy 1968. It seems there's a lot of wet weather events going on all over the world. Kimberly's in Western Australia, copping it a bad round trip just to get supplies to affected areas by road is a 12,000 trip. A 12K trip. That's nuts. All right, and then we have Russian warship holds drills in the Norwegian Sea. Now, if you look at the pattern of Russia, they have done a huge drill also before the conflict in UKR. People said that when we said that there were 160,000 on the border a year before they actually invaded, funny enough, we said that and people said, oh, yeah, sure, they're not, it's 2022 or 2021, they're not going to invade another country. And now look at where we're at. Of course, that was a whole year before they ever stepped ground onto UKR. They brought all of their gear. They left all of their equipment, all of their mobile hospitals. They ordered blood. Oh, another thing. When we showed you all these patterns, we showed you that Russia was bringing blood to the front lines. The last steps before you go to war is you get stuff like that ready. So if you're in an actual conflict, people are going to have their arms blown off, all sorts of stuff. You have to actually get the physical blood. It's one of the side effects of war is you need to actually have that blood ready. We told you right before this started, we said, hey, I think it's time now. And it was because of the blood. And people made the same comments. And then it happened. Well, it looks like they're doing drills all over the world. China is doing drills. We've, of course, talked about how they're putting pressure on Taiwan. They are invading on an almost daily basis with their planes, and they're pushing them to see the response. And they're also doing this to the point where they have half of their Navy sitting around Taiwan, and nobody's batting an eyelash because it's just one long drill. Meanwhile, the Russian warship is holding drills in the Norwegian Sea. You have it in the Atlantic. You have, of course, you have several different ships all over the world, including just right outside of Hawaii. It says a Russian warship armed with hypersonic cruise missiles has held exercises in the Norwegian Sea, the Defense Ministry said on Tuesday. The crew of the frigate, Admiral of the Fleet of the Soviet Union Gorshkov, conducted an air defense exercise in the Norwegian Sea. It says the crew conducted an exercise to repel the means of an attack, an air attack of a simulated enemy in the Norwegian Sea. Last week, President Vlad sent the frigate to the Atlantic Ocean armed with the new generation hypersonic cruise missiles, a signal to the West that Russia will not back down in UKR. It says the frigate is armed with Zircon missiles, which Russia says that fly at 9 times the speed of sound and have a range of over 1,000 kilometers or 620 miles. Russia sees the weapons as a way to pierce increasingly sophisticated U.S. missile defenses, which Putin has warned could one day shoot down Russian nuclear missiles, which is a trip in itself. So we always tell you about these drills because the drills are always an excuse to be able to move around gear. And then Russia nears breakthrough in savage assault in eastern UKR. This was put in here just to mainly point out they're basically saying that they are almost taking another area. Everybody talked about how they went out of Kherson, how they retreated, how they got their tail between their legs. Russia admitted that they did fail in that. They admitted their mistakes. But I also pointed out through World War II, World War I, and almost every conflict, there have been times where the good guys, bad guys, whoever side you're on, they take a place, they lose a place. They take it, they lose it. There was multiple exchanges between Europe and Germany where they were taking areas over, losing them, retreating, going back with more forces, taking it back. This is the stuff that happens in a conflict, especially a large conflict. As far as this, it says that they appear to be close to capturing a small but strategically important town on the front lines of the conflict in eastern UKR. Now, when they say, oh, it's a small town, you think, oh, it's just taking a small town. But this small town, from what we know, has been absolutely, completely covered and supported because it's a strategic area, has had thousands and thousands and thousands of UKR troops. So does that mean those thousands and thousands of UKR troops are either goners and not with us anymore, or did they retreat? Don't know. But it looks like that Russian soldiers and the Wagner's group mercenary fighters were engaged in a bitter fighting for the mining town of Solidar. Officials in Kiev and its Western allies said Tuesday, control of which might finally hand them a breakthrough in their bid to seize the key nearby city of Bakhmut. It says Moscow's troops had escalated their assault on defensive positions around Bakhmut. The official said after months of fierce fighting that has left the once thriving city in the industrial Donbas region largely ruined. Which, if you look at that city, it is pretty, I mean, like, there's parts of buildings sticking up. It looks like a scene out of Call of Duty. I mean, like a map out of Call of Duty after WW2. It's pretty bad. So if they get that strategic area, it's basically to show you the other side, that it's not always just UKR winning now. And, of course, there's a media narrative on both sides to tell you one or the other. Let's see here. Thank you, Bear Claws, G Bacon. What's going on, Trinity? Thank you for being here tonight. And Susan in the house. Thank you. Susan in the house says, you is pretty flattened. Extinguish Iffy. Majority of people won't ever know I have arrived or is already gone. Let's see here. 1A matters. I hope it's not white lung. CJ Blaze, good to see you. Very true. Craig Alicious. Be warned of false prophet, which they come to you in sheep's clothing, and inwardly they are ravening wolves. Flip TK. Jay Leah, check Oppenheimer Ranch videos. The sun is highlighted tonight. CJ Blaze, reflection always. Good to see you. Sending you love. Nice to see you guys as well. All right, Dex, let's get to our next caller. Looks like we have Heartbroken Survivor. Will you get Heartbroken Survivor on the phone? I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out Energy. If you haven't got yourself a generator yet, I highly recommend getting a solar generator because obviously you have unlimited power and you do not need to store gas. The Energy Flex 1500 that I use is actually modular, and you can actually add up to up to 96 batteries. And the 1500 can also be modded, so you can actually get different units for different things. So you can actually get a mod that will actually supercharge it to be able to take 3 times the amount of panels. So instead of 4 100-watt panels, you get the supercharger mod that is about a half the size of the battery, fits in like a Lego, and you can actually plug in 12 100-watt panels, therefore tripling the charge time. Actually cutting the charge time in a third, tripling the speed of the charge time. This is an awesome system. It is an investment. They're not cheap. They're meant to last decades upon decades. This is the best system on the market, in my opinion, and many others as well. Make sure to go check it out, marfugglenews.com/energy, and that's INERGY. Make sure to go use the code Marfoogle to save upwards of $170. When you do, not only are you getting a discount, but you're also supporting an independent channel, and you're getting something that you will most likely use an absolute ton. Since I got my Flex 1500, I've used it so many times because we lose power all the time. And then they also have, of course, the LT and the X2. They're 2 smaller units. This is the LT, the smallest of the 3, and I'm still waiting on my X2, which is an all built-in one. That I've been waiting for a while. That's, again, I'm waiting for just like all of you guys. So make sure to go check it out, marfugglenews.com/energy. Go ahead, Dex.
And just an update on the X2. They're now shipping in 2 to 3 days. So those of you that have already ordered, they should already be shipped. And I think yours is probably shipped as well because you're in that first round. So if you want to buy one, you can buy it now and it'll ship in 2 to 3 days. They just sent us a message tonight.
Because when they get the lithium, they have to take the lithium and then build the units as it comes. Which, by the way, we'll talk about in here in a second. Lithium is the future. There's obvious reasons why UKR is being fought about. And they're only talking about this now. We talked about it months ago. But let's get a Heartbroken Survivor on the phone. Heartbroken Survivor, you are live on Marfoogle News.
Well, hello, family. How are we doing?
How are you? It's so nice to talk to you. So what's going on with you? We haven't talked to you in a little bit.
A couple of stories back, what you were talking about, I want to ask the family to go to Dr. John Campbell's YouTube website for the last 2 weeks. I've watched it since you talked about this starting. 2019, somewhere in there. You get me?
Yes.
And he has been honest, and he is so close to you. But he's a medical man. Everyone needs to go watch his last 10 or 20 videos. It will blow your mind and it will make you mad. But do that. That's the safest way I can talk about it.
Yeah, it looks like his even his videos have already been like tagged and all sorts of information on them. Look at that. They tag everything at this point. Almost everything. If you mention it, people don't understand why we don't say certain things. It's like they tag everything. They literally tag almost everything, and that means you know that it's like boom, that one's not going far, right? But
he used to explain it out real well, and now he's like you have to say certain things. And he'll tell you, he says, YouTube won't let me elaborate. You know, he'll tell it to you. But the man, I trust him. He has been on top of it the entire time. But they're talking about this thing going on for 10 more years. What does that tell you? This wasn't no accident. It wasn't.
Well, and then
I believe with you.
Dr. Drew has been talking about this on Twitter too, the all cause thing, and I won't go too into it. I'll end up finding the tweets for this debate that he had, but they're talking about the all cause. All of it has gone up, and it's like, how else do you explain that? It's kind of hard.
Yeah, it really is. And you talked to Larry a while ago. I'm not going to talk about the weather, but you talked to Larry a while ago, and you told him exactly right. If he's scared of scary movies, don't watch them. He's an adult. He's not a child. But we are all here because we know when you tell us something, all you got to do is wait, and it's going to happen. Well, we don't wait. We go ahead and do what you suggest, and we don't have to wait to get into a store that doesn't have anything. We're prepared. We're not scared. And that's what people should understand. This is not fear-mongering. This is giving us information that we need. And sometimes it scares us all. I know it does, because this is a scary world we live in now. It terrifies you sometimes. But you can't be scared. You got to be prepared. And even being blind, I am prepared as much as I can be. And I'm telling you, it's freaky when you can't see, and you have to listen to all this. Adam, it's absolutely just, it'll blow your mind sometimes.
Now, as far as being blind, you only listen to me, right? So when you hear obviously when you lose any sense, if you are deaf, they say that even people that have had bad vision and glasses have had kind of miraculous vision improvements. Or if they lose the ability to lose the ability to see, they end up hearing a ton better. You talked about it one time when you called in about how you could basically, navigate your entire house and you could hear things, right? You can basically, you can tell where you are by the sounds of things, right?
Yeah. I have my house rigged up I have strings coming from the ceiling to tell me when I'm in the middle of my living room. I have a string hanging between rooms so I know where I'm at. I have a house that's a maze, but it's for me. It's not for anyone else.
And
I place my rugs a certain way.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I place my rugs a certain way so when my toe hits the end of that rug, I know I'm in the middle of the bathroom door, and that's where I'm at. It's You have to change everything. I was almost deaf before I lost my sight. And now I can hear like you wouldn't believe.
Well, my main point is and I want to point out, Heartbroken Survivor is blind, and she still lives on her own. She's a tough cookie, and she is not scared. So if a grown man in his possible 40, 50, 60s is scared, then I don't know what to tell you. Heartbroken Survivor is one heck of a tough cookie, and she's done everything that we all do as seeing individuals. She does it by hearing. But also when you only hear, you can hear inflection, you can hear people. I bet you probably have a good sense of when people are full of crap talking to you, and I bet you could probably get a good grasp on who are good people, who are not, just by hearing them, right?
Yeah. God's give me a gift when I get near someone. It's their aura, or I can touch their hand, and I know what they are. I mean, I know whether to get away from them or to listen to them. It's an unreal thing. It's like electricity. If it pops you, it's not somebody to stay around or listen to. It's an awesome gift, and I'm really enjoying it. But when I run into somebody bad and I get shocked bad, I just back up. That's all I can do. You learn. You learn real quick. And you asked me the other night. I texted in on D-Live that you said, would I take some ice from Elon? No, I'll put it politely. No, I will not. I'm gonna be like I am when I die. They ain't putting nothing of Elon's in me.
So, yeah, because we were talking about how they're talking about being able to fix vision, fix all of these different things, but you're basically becoming a cyborg. So I don't blame you. But also, I mean, it's just a trip to be able to be blind. You could feel, I'm sure, if you cannot see somebody, you are not judging them by what they look like. You don't have any predisposed thoughts of them. And I think that's what all of us go into. Everybody has done it, whether they say that they're a perfect saint and they don't judge people. We all make these judgments. I know that I've walked into a store, wearing a hoodie, and I specifically doing construction, had paint on my pants. It's like you walk into a store like that, you get followed around the store. If walked into a store wearing a suit and tie, I wouldn't get carded for things. I would get treated nice. I'd be people would call me sir. People would walk me down the aisle to what I needed. People would leave me alone. Oh, go ahead and do your thing. But if you're dressed crappy, you go into a place and you'll literally be followed by like loss prevention or something. People do judging all of the time, with tattoos, with everything. For you being blind, I think it's a superpower, because honestly, you don't have any of those preconceptions. You just listen to the information, and then you get to follow the stories as they come out. I think it's pretty cool that our show is listened to kind of like a podcast in a lot of places. So I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate you here, Heartbroken Survivor.
Thank you, darling. It's freeing, because it's like you say, you make judgments. And when you can't see, there is no judgments. You see, it's like an aura. When you meet a person, it's like an aura, and then you get that. Before I let the doctor operate on my back, I had to touch his hand. I wanted to know what he was about. And I asked him to pray with me. He prayed with me. But you have no preconceived condition. It's freeing. It is really freeing, because you have no judgments on anybody. It's a wonderful thing.
Well, Heartbroken Survivor, out of the last 20 shows you've listened to, has there been anything that really struck you, and other things that you've been listening to, and all of the stuff going on? What do you think is really happening right now?
I think this world is fixing to be turned upside down. I think man is gonna. I think the U.S. might not be surprised, but I think we're going to be surprised by what's coming. It's these are treacherous times we're living in right now, and I think back to when my mother was a little girl. She used to tell us that you had to cover your windows at night when there was an air raid. We're not going to have that kind of time now because everything's so fast, supersonic. You know, these are scary days we're living in. But you cannot be scared because then you'll be stupid. You can't be scared. You've got to keep your head about you to do. Just like you were talking about the weather a while ago. We're constantly having tornado warnings here. And I've been through 2 tornadoes as a child. And never bothered me. But now when I hear a tornado warning on my phone, it terrifies me. So I talked to a lady the other day, and she says, nobody can see a tornado in the dark, which is true. I can't see the tornado no way. But it believe me, you know, I can't see it, and they can't either. So they don't have no advantage over me. But it's constant. It seems like every other week, tornado warning. Our weather is so turned upside down. Man kept us knows how to do it. Everything we're going through is because we thought we could do it better. And it was right, now it's not. And we're paying for what we've done. What our higher ups have done. But we'll be strong. We'll get through it. We'll always have some to get through it.
Yeah, great point. Heartbroken Survivor, it's always a pleasure to have you on here. Again, everyone always loves when you call in. We had probably one of the best calls I've ever had on my show. I thought, I don't remember if it was your first or your second call, but it was one of my favorite calls of all time. And this is up there. So thank you so much, and I appreciate you, and we all love you here. And thank you so much for continuing to watch and listen. Well, listen.
Thank you, darling. I love you and all the Foogle fam. We'll all get there together, babies. Don't worry, we will. Thank you, Dex.
All right. Well, God bless you, and you have a wonderful night, and continue to listen. All right. That was Heartbroken Survivor. Very, very sweet lady. Every time she calls in, I always get emails and messaging of people that absolutely love Heartbroken Survivor. By the way, she's a tough cookie. She's like she doesn't want anything from anybody. She's just a really, really amazing person in general. Let's see here. All right, and then let's see. Dex, for time's sake, we're going to probably need to get through a couple of these and then probably get our next caller on. What are we on time-wise as far as minutes?
About 25 or less.
Okay, so Dex, do you want to go over the 600 bodies transported in truckloads and the Putinale Puchashev? And summarize those real quick?
Yeah, so this goes back, the 600 count goes back to the where UKR was saying they had attacked and they had a significant number of people they took out in Vlad's country. And then Vlad came out and said, no, it was not that. And then they came back and said, well, there was 60 people and that was it. Now what they're claiming, and of course this claim is coming out of UKR, so take it again with a huge grain of salt, but he's saying that there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 people from that location, and they're going out hidden in trucks. So that's their excuse. That's what they're saying. This is just going back to the whole back and forth between the two, trying to say who's really winning or who's really losing. And, at the end of the day, I don't believe either one of them because they're all going to say what they need to say to make themselves look good. So take it all with a grain of salt.
Yes, indeed. And then the next story, allies of Puchevsky says Russia is now fighting NATO in Ukraine. They're claiming that they're already fighting NATO, which a lot of people that we in our audience actually agree with that. I mean, it is NATO infrastructure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is what we were talking about last night in one sense, where we said, look, if think about it, like if the West said, hey, we're done, we're not giving anything else to UKR, what would actually happen? They would fall apart. Like UKR is not standing on their own. UKR isn't doing what they're doing because they have the ability to buy equipment, because they have the ability to stockpile equipment, or because they have the ability to build that equipment. They're not successful or being any way, shape, or form successful on their own. They're only doing it because everyone else is there. If everyone walked away, it would be over. And it would be over in the sense that Vlad would take it over and they'd be done. So they're basically, their existence is dependent solely, and I would, it's pretty fair to say solely based on America. You could say the West and all the allies, but at the end of the day, we're the ones shipping over the billions of dollars and all the equipment, and anybody else that gives them something, it's because we're giving them something new to replace it. So if tomorrow we said, we're done, they're done. So at the end of the day, we're really the ones doing this. We're just leveraging their people. We're really the ones supporting this. We're really the ones that are in this conflict with Vlad. And that's what this headline says. That's what this notion is coming out of from, some of their allies or Vlad's allies. They're basically saying, let's call it what it really is. We're really in a conflict with the West. We're really in a conflict between the U.S. and Vlad.
Great comments, by the way. Exactly. So if we didn't step in, if other countries didn't step in, do you think that this wouldn't have been over in a couple weeks? They didn't have almost anything. All of the stuff we gave them, they did not have any of. Even personnel carriers and all of their actual military before this, it would have been a 2-week thing. So for the fact that NATO stepped in, and the fact that all of these countries shipped them stuff, it is NATO infrastructure, and that's just the facts of it. All of the things that are doing damage, that are shooting down things, that are doing pretty much any of the forward momentum, the narrative is that it's the will of the people and that they're just charging forward, and they're telling you, the narrative and the writers and the op-eds are telling you that these, which by the way, the UKR people and the Russian people, they're if you go back some time, they come from the same stock. They're like brothers, right? They're brothers and sisters. You're telling me one side, Vlad's side, is just all of a sudden a bunch of wussies and they run and they're like, I'm scared of everything. I don't want to go to conflict. There's going to be people in every country that are going to desert, that are going to say, I don't want to do this conflict. But I will say this, there's some tough mofos in Russia. There's some tough mofos in Ukraine. I'm guaranteeing if you took certain countries, took like 5 18-year-olds from every country, I bet you Russia and Ukraine would probably rank high up there. If you had groups of 5 randomly picked 18-year-olds to fight, randomly grouped, 18-year-olds from all over the world, I bet you Russia and UKR would be in the top 5 in the results if it was some sort of, massive fight tournament or something. They're not. You never underestimate your enemy, and that's what's being done right now. I think Vlad is doing the Sun Tzu art of war. Look weak when you are strong. Look strong when you are weak. I think that's as simple as it gets. I think there's a lot of simple stuff that's going on here. Plus, there may be the factor that this is all going to plan. He was part of the YGL. If you know about, what's going on with the W and the E and the F, this could all be a big circus, like Neo Bailey said. It's all this whole thing. And somebody else said that UKR is one big washing machine for the administration, right? Yeah, could be. but it also could be over resources. We don't know. Again, there is a ton of lithium, and the lithium is the future. At least that's what they want us to think, and that's what they're telling us it's going to be. We don't have a choice. We're going to be driving electric cars. Gas-powered vehicles will be banned, and you won't be able to drive them on regular streets. You'll only be able to drive them on the track. There's literally politicians saying by 2035 that there won't be gas-powered vehicles on regular highways because regular highways will be autonomous. They're saying all sorts of things are going to change. And if they are going to change in this short amount of time, because it is short, think about 2001 when September of 2001 happened. That was 21 years ago. They're saying in half of that time, since the time that has elapsed since we had that event, they're saying in half that time, our whole world's going to change. How is it going to change without a major event? And then Vlad appoints new ground forces chief despite Hawk's disapproval. This is basically more crony circle stuff. You can go over to the website and read the whole thing. But it said that Vlad has appointed Colonel General Alexander Lepin as chief of staff of the country's ground forces state-owned agency task reported on Tuesday, despite fierce criticism from leading Hawks over his performance in UKR. Lepin, previously commander of Central Military District, was blasted last October by hawkish allies of Vlad after Russian forces were driven out of the city of Lyman in eastern UKR. His promotion, widely reported across Russian media, but neither confirmed nor denied by the Kremlin, drew mixed reactions from the influential Russian war bloggers who provided the critical running commentary on Moscow's stuttering military effort. So there is a new leader in town, or a new chief of defense that they're putting in. Some say that this is because there is an escalation coming, and the specific quotes by that gentleman are quite scary. So if you want to read the rest, you can also go over to marfooglenews.com. And then the conflagration of Moscow. Roof collapses. Firefighting aircraft involved. Dex, do you want to cover this real quick? And then I can actually cover the next.
Yeah, it's a short story. There's not a lot to it. There's a big fire. We've covered these fires over and over again, but what's more interesting is we talked about how some people were speculating that a lot of the explosions and a lot of the fires that were happening over there were happening because of the efforts of a three-letter agency in our country that begins with a C, with the I, and also with the A. So if we go back to that story that we talked about maybe a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, as we see these things, it just makes us ask that question, like, is this yet another one? And what is it? And what was there something specifically going on here that was important? It's a big enough fire. They brought in aircraft to actually drop water in. It's that big. So right in Moscow.
Yeah, they just keep having these strange fires. And then we're going to get our next caller on, Michael, a.k.a. Ferret Dad. I'm going to say what's up to all my D-Live peeps here in a minute. Thank you, everybody over on D-Live. I appreciate you. And thank you to everybody over on Rumble. I appreciate you guys as well. So if we have Michael, a.k.a. Ferret Dad, coming on. In the meantime, I do want to remind you, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/EMP. You can actually protect all of your newer vehicles, your generators. Of course, you can protect the Flex 1500 generator if you already got that. They specifically make an EMP shield for that. You can get the same protection that agencies like DHS and DOD are calling up. EMP Shield is actually on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. In fact, we worked with EMP Shield before they got all these huge contracts, and at one point we didn't even know if we were still going to be able to have them because we didn't know if they were going to continue selling to civilians. They got some huge contracts under President T-Man, and of course those are continuing. They're trying to help harden the grid, but right now it's extremely vulnerable. If you want to protect yourself against an EMP or an electromagnetic pulse or a CME, this is the great way to do it. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. You will be able to wire this into your car in less than 15 minutes. And of course, it will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before a CME or an EMP will be able to fry it. Very simple. It's a veteran-owned business. It's 100% American-made down to the screws and the wires. Make sure to go check it out. It's a very, very great deal. $50 off when you use our link. Not only are you getting a big fat discount, but you are also helping independent media. We don't have Of course, we're covering controversial things, so we're not suitable for all advertisers. And, of course, we are covering things that are downranked and given to placeholders like CNN and MSNBC and all them. So thank you guys for helping us go along. We don't have a multi-channel network. We have the Foogle fam. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. All right, Michael, a.k.a. Ferret Dad, what is going on? You are live on Marfoogle News.
How you doing tonight, Marv?
Hey, I'm doing good. So you gave me an article to pull up, so I'm going to pull that up right now. Do you want to explain? And first of all, we did cover it on our website. I didn't talk about it much because I found out very late in last show, but Diamond from Diamond and Silk has passed. Do you want to go in and talk about that?
Well, I just heard it on the news and stuff and watched a few videos of it. I think it was like heart complications or something.
Yeah,
and
51.
That's pretty much all it is. I mean, I thought they was great for being on our side.
Well, and there's already nasty things being said, and she just passed away. Somebody was spreading the rumor that she actually, that Diamond, out of Diamond and Silk, actually did do the bad thing that everybody debates about. But most people, if you look at it, 51 years old is very young now. But, I guess at the very beginning of this thing, you would say pre-existing conditions, right? Diamond and Silk were kind of a powerhouse together. They really made kind of their own kind of niche in history as far as what they did and how they did it and how they came to fame. What do you think? How is Silk going to continue? Have you heard anything about that?
No, I haven't. Not yet.
And then you had some comments about G. What are those?
Yeah. Now this is just my theory. Well, this is just my theory. But from what I've seen I watch Ion a lot, and 70% of their population is infected. And I think the reason why 3 of the cities, they've got bootleg videos that people's got out of the country of where the hospitals, the beds, the floors, the halls, everything's filled, in Beijing and the other 2 big cities. And people are lining up to pretty much just pre-order their, we call it burning of themselves. And and on top of that, they also reported on there that the people from the CCP are going, these other countries that are not letting them in, like for us, well, they're going to the southern part of Mexico, getting their, all their paperwork and everything, going into there and paying the coyotes up to $10,000 to walk them across the border.
So this is just getting wild.
I think, like I said, my perspective, I think we're not going to hear nothing about it, but it's, like the last time and the other times, we're not going to hear about it till the last minute. I think it's going to hit us and hit us hard. I'd say in the middle of February, middle to the end of February. And I think that the CCP they ain't going to fire a shot. They just did their little, people put it in their people, and they're shipping them over to get rid of us and everybody else that opposes them.
Well, and we have to supposedly, as far as what's going on there, I thought of the general SVR telegram saying that there's going to be big events at around the anniversary of when this whole UKR thing started, which would be around February 24th, right? Or February 24th. And I was thinking, man, what if the big events, because it's vague, it's purposely vague. It says there's going to be big events. And these aren't dates that we're throwing out or any of our peers or anything. This is the general SVR thing. And I just wonder if they're talking about something like that. We're on the same time frame we were just off by a couple weeks. It's like we're just a few weeks behind where we were in 2019 when all of this stuff was happening into 2020. It's crazy to think that this even happened in the first place. But something you just reminded me of is the gentleman who worked at the base that I ended up talking to. He said what we went through in 2019. He said his opinion, and this is a gentleman who works with all of the highest ranking military go there to basically go on vacation. He said we were being attacked and that it was a T event. Like, that's what he called it. And I don't know. Maybe he doesn't know anything. Maybe he's lower end on that spectrum. Maybe he could be the freaking military janitor of the place. I don't know. But when he said that, and he just started spouting things about like, oh, we have 5 cells right here in this state. There's people that really want to do us damage and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it sounded like he was in a meeting of some sort talking about this kind of stuff. I'm kind of with you on this, and I really hope that's not right. Half of me wants to say like, this is really scary that it's possibly happening. Especially people are mentioning like the white lung stuff and all that. It's scary stuff. I hope we're not right this time. I really do.
Well, they said that it's really not the white lung that is doing it to people. It's attacking their brain.
Which is absolutely terrifying. Again, watch the movie Songbird. It is even named 23, and it attacks the brain in the movie. I mean, just the crazy predictive programming that happens is just insane. And this whole contagion thing, that is the scenario in that, I believe. And it says that 1 billion perish in this scenario, just the fictional scenario. That's not good.
No, it's not. I was watching on my thing on Facebook, and they put a freaking one of those, CV notices underneath a movie or underneath the what do you call it, that Blue Bloods. They was talking about New York getting hit with the virus. And they put this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. And it was put out, and they put one of those warnings at the bottom of it.
Well, there's going to be more to come as far as the different things that are going on here. It's, again, something that we have been going over, and I sure hope we're absolutely wrong on this. I hope you're wrong, Michael, and I mean that in the best way. I hope you were absolutely wrong. In fact, I couldn't hope you are more wrong ever in my life. But unfortunately, it seems like everything is coming to a peak. Everybody wants 2023, and naturally over the new year, everybody wants the next year to be like, this is going to be a great year. Since 2020, things have gotten progressively worse in more than one way, and no pun intended. But things have literally gotten worse in our daily lives, and things are changing. Bills are changing. All sorts of things are changing, which again, in a second, we're going to cover how they're trying to talk about the fair tax and things like this. But yeah, it's getting crazy. So, Michael, again, we're actually low on time, so I wanted to give you a chance. Is there one more thing you want to say before you go?
Yes, I do. If I could shout out a YouTube channel. It's called JWTV. He goes into what's been coming out of the sky, salmonella, and other things. And he just reported 2 hours ago on there's antennas put up on mountains with solar panels attached to them. And these are public parks and stuff like that. and they don't know who put them up there. They've been taking them down, because they take a couple of them down, then they have to hike to them. 4 or 5 more get put up, and they don't know whose they are. It's JWTV.
Yes, and if you are interested, I don't know if it was last night or 2 nights ago, we did cover that, and it is very spooky. JWTV is a great channel. I like that guy. He's always very polite. He always comes in here. He's just really a nice person. He always comes in, he participates, he talks with everybody. He doesn't act like a big YouTuber or anything. He's a really awesome guy. He's very humble. I appreciate JW, and again, I'd love to do more stuff with him. We just never have connected yet. I do believe we sort of, through association, we kind of did at one point, through like Israel News Live or something. But yeah, no, JW, we'll put his link on our website so everybody can get to him, and then I was going to talk to him first, but we were actually going to add him to the friends at one point, the marfooglenews.com/friends, if he's not there already. Well, thank you, Michael, a.k.a. Ferret Daddy. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you.
Hey, no problem. Just trying to give everybody the heads up. And like I said, with the one caller, I'd much rather be the kind of person to get, a week ahead of time, a week notification ahead of time before it happens, so I can get everything situated, than be like some of these people out here that, they give you the comments. I've talked to several people because, I go around and pick up scrap to help out the ferret rescue here in my area. And I've talked to several people, and they're like, I'm not going to do nothing about it until it reaches my doorstep. And I look at them, I say, it's already at your doorstep at the southern border, and our Brandon was down there in the safest area that you could be doing the wall.
Yeah, and they cleaned it up beforehand and cleared all the people, and yeah, no, I get you. That's we covered that too in the overnight. By the way, as far as those antennas, you should watch the episode we talked about it, because there was an opinion on it. I think it was the last call-in show, so it was 2 days ago. And they talked about it possibly being G and coming in from Canada. So I'd highly recommend you go watch that episode. If you just type in the title of that story, you'll probably find it on ours too. And then I'll go check out JW's coverage. I showed his channel, of course. And then Michael, I agree with you on that. Saw the total stupidity of that whole scenario. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you. And thank you for calling.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, Michael, a.k.a. Ferret Daddy, thank you for calling. That was, again, Michael from Indiana. And let's see here. There's a couple important things here. So first of all, go to JWTV, make sure to subscribe. And then also, this is really crazy. So this is just a side note. I would love to hear what you guys think of this, that UKR, the military, their military will be coming to the U.S. Now, I covered that they were going to go to Germany to train for this. Maybe I did. I kind of remember them coming here. Dex, did we ever cover them coming here? I thought they were going to Germany to train for this. Now, apparently, they're going
I thought it was Germany, too. But it sounds like maybe they're doing expeditious training and getting maybe in both locations. Maybe they're trying to get more people trained.
What do you guys think about this, as far as we are literally going to be bringing the people that are going to be running the UKR version of our Patriot system that's going to be directly harming, Russia's country and harming Russia's offensive, defensive, whatever. We are bringing them here to train them. I swore I believe we covered something that said that they were going to be training in Germany. Maybe they believe that they can train them faster here. I don't know. But doesn't that make kind of us as a target? And you would think this would be some sort of escalatory thing, or some like F you to their face. I don't know. But apparently that's beginning next week, as soon as next week. So we're going to actually have UKR troops here training on this Patriot system to get them ready. Now, remember, everything big is most likely going to go down. This is just common sense. And in war, if you played any game, if they're going to get a defensive system like the Patriot system in a few months that's going to be able to shoot down hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gear, you're going to use those hundreds of thousands of dollars of missiles and gear and drones before they get it. So we're going to see huge escalations in Russia. That's my belief. I'm absolutely sure of it. If I'm wrong, I'll correct myself. But I believe this is what's going to happen next. And I hope we're not at the precipice of something. I really don't. I hope this is not something very bad. And then as far as, Dex, do you want to quickly explain the fair tax? This sounds like an awesome deal, too. I remember a couple of years ago somebody talking about this. It's not anything new, but man, it would be kind of awesome. Think about not paying income tax, but paying only when you buy. You would have to pay a lot more sales tax, but you wouldn't have that income tax. You would have nothing come out of your initial check, right? Is that how the fair tax kind of work and has always kind of worked? And it's not something that's ever passed, but now it's being talked about, and even getting rid of the IRS.
Yes, exactly. So that's this has been around for 15, 20 years or maybe longer, but it's a very simplified system. It says get rid of the entire tax structure we have now, which has all of these rules and all of these loopholes and tiered structure. And, you got to hire somebody because nobody can figure out how to do their own taxes. There is none of that. And it's just anytime someone spends $1, 23 cents goes to the government. And it's a consumption tax. It's something we're all very familiar with because pretty much everybody has either shopped in a location or lives in a location that has sales tax. So it's the exact same thing. It would just be putting it there. So when the rich go out and buy their Bugattis, they pay 23% on top of that. But if you don't spend your money and if you hold it back, then, you're rewarded because you're saving as opposed to spending. So anyway, it's a very simplified system. And the great thing is they're actually saying they're going to vote on it. So I don't expect it to pass, but it will be interesting to see if it gets more attention and if it gets a larger following from our congressional leaders.
What are the downsides to it? I guess everything would become more expensive, but you would also not have that money that's going out of your paycheck every time, right?
Well, it's that, and it's also transparent. In other words, no one can have loopholes where we don't see that the former president, his 3 years in a row never paid a single dime, but he runs around saying he's a billionaire. So there's all of that stuff that nobody really has a clue either how it works or who's actually paying what. And a system like this is absolutely clear. Everyone is treated equally, and it's about if you spend money, then a portion of it goes to the government.
Yeah, so I would think too is then they would take away the loopholes that these banksters use to hide their money and to hide their stuff and to not pay taxes, to do all these side things, and obviously.
Yes, all that would be gone.
Yeah. So I guess there's positives and negatives, and I bet you there's some sort of hidden super negative. Well, again, crazy stuff. Back over to the chat. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for popping in. There were several people that just supported. Thank you so much. Over on DLive, which I did not have up, so thank you so much. Thank you, MJ1979. And then Dex, could you actually get me the top 3 on DLive? It's glitching out on me. DLive has had a problem the last couple nights, so I cannot.
Yeah, we have. Yes, number 1 is Bear Claws. Number 3, Michelle K. And 2, Michelle K. And number 3, Beer Juice.
Well, thank you all. And you're not on there, but I know you're there. Vicky K, Kimbria, Jammer, thank you so much. Chance Paladin. If you guys haven't checked out Chance's book, make sure to go over and check out Amazon. The Amazon link is on the marfugglenews.com/friends page. He does all sorts of different books. He's a very, very good author. Carol McLean, thank you so much for your support over on YouTube. Carol McLean, again, thank you for the 2 super stickers. I appreciate that. Carol McLean, thank you. Craig Alicious, we need wages back on. The sun is getting rowdy. Craig Alicious, I would be totally down for that. By the way, check out Wages channel. He was in the chat with Lifeboat earlier tonight. Make sure to go check out his channel. He's been doing great stuff. Also, check out the video we did last week on the face in the sun. What a crazy, timeless video. Wages caught in the solar flare a face. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. Go check out that. Just type in face in the sun, Wages world, and you will find it. Reverend Brian York says, great show tonight. Stay safe, family. Well, thank you. And I appreciate you. Dex, let's go over the web only very quickly so I can at least try to get...
And we're making the switch, so everybody that's on YouTube, head over to Marfoogle Jams. We'll put the link in chat in just a second.
Okay, so Shoutro, if you want to hear it and join the other chat members, make sure to head over to Marfoogle Jams, and you can chat over there. All right, Dex, let's go over the web only. Let's see here. I will pull it up here so we can all talk about all of the crazy stuff.